All right, welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. We are now in configuring Blender. So in this section, there's the introduction. It goes through language settings, input devices and settings, file and paths, save and load, configuring peripherals like tablets and 3D mice and such, and saving and loading default and factory settings. So let's get started. Okay, here in the introduction, it starts us off with a link to the preferences section, but we're not going to go there just now. We're going to get there. So let's start with the language settings. I want you to notice here it says enable edit interface translation. However, that's not exactly how it goes in Blender. So let me just show you. Okay. So when you start Blender, this is 3.0 alpha, since at the time of this recording, 3.0 production release 3.0 is not yet ready. But so this is your splash screen. We will go over to that a little later as well. Let's kick over to edit, and go down to preferences. So remember on the in the documentation, it says edit interface translation. It's just missing one little step. We've got edit. You go to edit, then preferences, and then interface. And that's where your language settings are at, right here at the bottom, translation. It's not recommended, especially while you're going through a tutorial, to change this because there are a lot of tool tips and such that just won't come up correctly. Okay, so we're just going to hurry and nail all of the major points on this page. If you want to look more into the translation before we get to it, go ahead. As before, we're going to go to Edit, down to Preferences. For Input, we're going to go to Input. And here we have Emulate Numpad. If you don't have a keyboard number pad, you can go ahead and click this, and it will allow you to use some of your keys as if they were a number pad, kind of like how some laptops do that. Next, there's file paths. If you go down to this, you'll notice that some of these are prepended with a double /. That simply means that the default directory that it's going to use is going to be the whatever your current project directory is. You can also enter your default image editor, whatever you would like to enter, whether it's Krita or GIMP or anything else. You can put that here and use that as your default image editor. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory. You have fonts, textures, scripts, sounds, temporary files, where all of your temp files are stored for whatever project you're working on. And if we move one tab up to save and load, we have options specific to saving and loading blend files. The documentation would like to bring auto run Python scripts to our attention. This basically enables any Python scripts embedded in your .blend file to automatically run when you load it. It's only recommended if you trust the blend files that you're working with. A lot of people turn it on so that scripts like Rigify, which we will come across and go over a little later, will need if they're going to run correctly. All right, so that is the end of the introduction to configuring Blender. Let's go ahead and move on.